Are you ready?
My coach, Barbara H. Smith. Why did I hire her? Because she's the best.
Barbara H. Smith is a powerhouse. She just walks in the room and grabs your attention, and she does that in a way that just makes you feel loved and like she's paying attention to you. She cares about you, and she wants to see you be your best self.
She was able to dig inside and find the passion that was deep within me.
Barbara's energy is one of the reasons that I had to have her as my coach. I love the way she is real with people.
The reason I felt like I needed a coach was because I have some big goals and I needed to build my confidence. I knew that Barbara could help me do that.
I felt that I could trust her.
I would definitely recommend to get coaching from Barbara H. Smith if you feel like you need to level up your confidence. She would just help you feel like bold, like you can take on the world.
She has really shown me who I am. She has changed my mindset to a place that I know that I am more powerful today than I would have ever been if I had never met Barbara Smith.
Oh, here we go. We have a little bit of a shakeup today because guess what? Our host, Barbara H. Smith, is actually en route because yesterday she was nominated for the World Civility Ambassador. So just to show she's always traveling, she's always moving, but I'm here to talk to you. And welcome to the Empowering You show, where we highlight small businesses and people who are doing big things in their community to impact the lives of others all across the world. So I'm so excited to have you here with us today. We have so much to talk about, and we have a phenomenal guest coming up. Before we get into that, I just wanted to make sure if you don't have your copy of Speak, Coach, Train Strategies to Win, here we go. You need to grab that at bit.ly/BHS, that's capital BHS, book. Make sure you get it. We have a fabulous retreat coming up, and I'll tell you more about that at the end of the show. But let's get into it here. I want to introduce Dr. Michelle Boone-Thornton. Just a little about her. Oh my goodness, where do I start? She is the most phenomenal woman that I've talked to in the most recent time here. She is the Associate Chair and Tenured Professor of Human Services at St. Leo University. She enjoys integrating her 25 years of experience as a clinician and practitioner in the field of mental health. She's an advocate for vulnerable populations and is actively engaged in efforts to empower and uplift those whose voices have been silenced due to oppression, limited resources, mistreatment, and the lack of education. She has been employed with residential, hospital, and community-based mental health facilities throughout Virginia and Alabama, and has also presented in the USA and abroad, echoing her message of transform your reality, removing the mask. Her workbook will be published in May of this year, so make sure you get that. And it provides a brief overview of why you mask and outlines a gradual process for exhuming buried pain, trauma, grief, hurt, abuse, and other emotions. The workbook is designed to be a standalone instrument of change. However, to receive maximum benefit, it's recommended that you utilize the entire platform to include Dr. Boone-Thornton's workshops, presentations, and journal. She's looking forward to joining the Best Life Tour and speaking in Nairobi, Kenya, with yours truly, Barbara H. Smith. Coming up to the stage, please bring up Dr. Michelle Boone-Thornton.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I had to look around to see who you were talking about for a minute there, but hey, that's me. Okay, God is good.
God is so good. You are so phenomenal. just reading, that's just a brief bio. All the other things that you have done have blown my mind. Blown my mind. And on top of that, not only are you brilliant, you're such a sweetheart. On top of that, you don't get that very often where you have it all. So tell me what's going on. What do you have upcoming besides what's going on next month?
Well, one of the things that I do is basically speak to churches and individuals and anybody who will really listen to me about the pain and agony that we have been enduring, not only as a result of COVID, but throughout our lifetime. We have been conditioned just to push pain down, oh, tough it out, or you're better than that, or you can handle that. And those things don't help you handle it. Unfortunately, they sound good, but they don't do anything to help you deal with the emotional baggage and turmoil that we have in and out of our lives all day. And so that's what I do. I actually am a foster parent. And so I will be speaking to foster parents about that subject, because one thing we have to realize, even in our own lives, we can't help others if we're broken.
No.
We can't. And we can't even really parent if we're modeling brokenness. So that's one of the things that I just want to talk about, that it's so relevant because of what we're going through now that we are unmasking from COVID.
So it's funny that you actually say now that we're unmasking, but when you talk about masking from a mental health standpoint, like you said, we're groomed, but women in particular are really groomed to really take this pain, and you can do it. You were built for this. If it doesn't break you, how do you find that comforting place to get people to open up so that they realize that how to dig up these feelings and this hurt? How do you make them feel comfortable?
Well, that's one of the things that we do in our workshops, is to first get people in a place where they're not only comfortable, but able to truthfully look at themselves without the mask. Social media lets us take perfect pictures, and it shows us doing wonderful vacations and all these things. But in reality, we have so much pain buried underneath that. So I give them a platform and an environment where they can unmask, where they do look at some of the trauma that they have experienced throughout their lives, along with other things. And people are like, well, trauma, Dr. Boone-Thornton, I haven't experienced any trauma. Guess what? We experience it every day, vicariously. When we turn on the TV and we see people being killed and shot and just in wars all over the place, your psyche doesn't just turn that off. It just doesn't go away because you're not watching it. It's there. You take it in. When your friends are suffering or whatever, you take all of that in. And so I give them the platform and the atmosphere where they can feel relaxed enough to share. I also have a journal along with the workbook, because there are some things close to your heart that you really need to write about, that you don't want to put in a workbook, or you don't want to come to a workshop with this workbook with all your closest feelings and emotions.
Right.
So that journal is there to keep right by their bed or by their side, so they can write about their feelings.
Sometimes I find that night I start thinking about things that are really difficult things to think about. And I find myself not really dealing with it and suppressing it. Just as a caregiver alone, I find that really difficult. And a lot of times people think of trauma as, you were physically attacked, or, there was a house fire or something really happened. We don't even realize that, like you said, some of the things you're listening to, even when it's just movies, some of the things that you visualize, that stuff stays with you and it starts to be normalized, and you don't really have an idea of like how it affects you. Just things like, as a Black woman dealing with, say, my husband or whatever, just dealing with the understanding of being pulled over for something as simple as, say, no turn signal could end up deadly. So it's really traumatic in my psyche. And I'm not real sure are we going to go home? You know, things like that that are happening around us in society that really are affecting our mental health. Not even talking about what has happened the last 2 years. You know, some
Yes.
people thought that they were fine. That's fine. I can stay in the house. I really love myself. And then they find out that, like, wait, I'm really not ready to go back outside. I'm really not ready to come from the other side of this laptop. You know, like how do we deal? How do we deal with that moving forward? Like, what's life going to look like for the young kids even who started school on a laptop or a Chromebook? You know,
Absolutely.
what they don't even know how to interact. How do we handle
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah, and that's a great thing. You talked about us being sheltering in place during COVID, and that kind of gave us a real deeper look at this dichotomous reality we live in and how change impacts it. So to not change is a barrier, it's a bondage, and to change it could be liberating and a freedom, for that person. So you're here, you're there, you're here, you're there. But I too, am a mother, and I have a son. And
Mhm.
I worry. I mean, he travels, he lives in DC and he travels back and forth. And every time he gets on that highway, just to come home to see his mom, just a simple little thing, I am worried from the time he leaves until the time he arrives. And where does that worry go? I mean, I
Right.
can't traumatize him by saying, "Oh no, call me every 5 minutes." But I,
Right.
and I deal with that. And also as a Black woman, we are also, and I don't want to use a word like victimized, but we have a lot of gifts and talents that are used by others. Because I can remember working at an organization where, I'm just an employee. I'm not a supervisor or anybody like that. But when they had these big projects, they would go, "Michelle, we need you. Now it's time for me to sprinkle my Black girl magic and put my cape on and
Right.
fix it and be responsible for the whole project." But yet I'm getting paid less than the people who are presenting the project.
That
So
part.
that's some of the things we have to look at. And that's
Mhm.
stress. We have self-imposed stress, and then we also have people who we let impose stress. And so that's one of the things that we bury along with the pain and the emotions that are kept underneath the mask.
Well, I want to bring up someone very, very, very special to my life, to your life, to our lives. None other than the celebrity, Barbara H. Smith.
All right.
Here we go. Here we go. How you doing?
Hello.
Woo! It was a hard trying to get in here. Great rising to you. Oh my God. How you doing, Dr. BT?
I'm having a wonderful day.
You
Wonderful.
marvelous. I ain't got no makeup. I ain't got no eyelashes. I'm just in the airport, right? Wearing my boss girl t-shirt.
All right. All right.
I've been listening to the conversation. Thanks so much, Shawnee Smith, for bringing it up without me. I love you. Trust and believe that for sure. But I want to ask a question of you. I heard you talking about your Black girl magic. Tell us more about that. Like, what does that really mean? Because there's a lot of us out here not quite sure what we should be doing, how we should be doing. And I want to first, before you answer that question, just tell you so much, Dr. BT, how much I appreciate you being on the show today. Even in my absence, I'm sitting in the Detroit, Michigan airport and trying to get back to Richmond. Just had a wonderful ceremony. But I just want to know, what does it mean to be that excellence, that Black girl excellence? And how do we help our communities move forward?
Yes, that's you just summed it up so perfectly. As Black women, we are women of excellence.
Yes.
So we don't give 80%,
No.
85%,
No.
90%. We give 100%.
100.
We personalize the things that we do. And so we are exploited because of that sometimes.
Exactly.
And so, I've seen it a lot of times. It's like, I've just been in a lot of different organizations where, the person who all of the pressure is on to make this work,
Yeah.
to figure out the goings, the comings, the setup, the breakdown, who speaks where, what. one of your Black women of excellence. And so then they know that what they're going to get is excellence because that's what we bring to the table. But we're not always compensated
No,
for
we're
all
not.
of our gifts and talents. And until we are, we have to stop letting ourselves be put on that mantle. And if it's a team effort, okay, so let me start delegating to members of the team.
Okay.
Don't put it all on yourself. And even when you can fix it, because some of us have controlling spirits, I got my hand up. Even when you can fix it, allow somebody else that opportunity so that you're not giving it away and then putting it back on yourself. We have a tendency to do that because we are people of excellence, but we have to make everything a teach moment for people sometime so that we can bring up younger people and let me show you how this done, and let them do it and let them make mistakes.
Absolutely.
But just don't bring all your excellence in, or let me put it to you a better way. Don't give all your excellence away.
To be imitated, right?
Or be
I do wanna-
imitated and not compensated. That's the word. Imitated and not compensated. Absolutely.
I think I'm gonna use that mantra for the rest of this quarter for sure. I do want to say hello to Shamira Webb out there. She said, "Good afternoon, Dr. Michelle Boone-Thornton," and that's really good. So we love the audience participation. Please keep watching, like us, and subscribe on YouTube as well. Listen, I used to be guilty of not delegating, and I recently learned how to do that. What my theory was like, it's going to take me longer to explain it to you than I could just do it myself. And then next thing you know, my shoulders were so heavy that I was empty, and you can't pour from an empty cup. So what suggestions do you have for somebody as we make this transition to regular life, if that's a thing, who have now found themselves in situations where they're caregivers and or their kids are just not adjusting? Is that something that we should go and get counseling alone first, then bring in the family? Do we start off together? Like, how should we handle something like that? How do we handle healing?
Well, and that's one of the things that I talk about in my workbook. You can go through this gradual process of healing alone, or maybe with your support system, or even professionals. You will have to actually gauge that. And I applaud anyone who's a caregiver because I've been there and I know that struggle that you have. One of the things that I tell the people that I speak with, and even my students who are adult students that balance everything, work, life, school, everything, self-care is so important. It is so important. And I know people are like, I don't have a lot of time in my day. I have to wake up, I have to take care of this person, I got to go here, I got to feed here, I got to do this. But you have to take care of yourself so that you can do these things and not just do them, check them off, but be a person of excellence while doing them. But I always say, start with self-care. Take some time alone with you to just think about you and what you need. And if you feel like this is really, really overwhelming, then hey, get you some support. I'm a person who don't think I have it all together. Okay. But my husband is a great support. My children are great supports. I have a mentor. I have a coach, Barbara H. Smith. I have did I plug right there or what?
Loved it.
I have people to support me. So don't feel like you have to do it all by yourself. When your shoulders start to feel really, really heavy, that's an indicator that you're carrying too much.
Right.
That you are just carrying too much. And it's time to get some support. But the first thing you have to do is take care of you.
So sometimes we think of self-care, we hear the term self-care Sunday, I'm going to go get a pedicure or maybe have a glass of wine. What kind of things would you suggest you start off with? Say if someone says, I don't have any time and I don't have any money. How am I going to have carve out time for self-care? Like what is something small that somebody can start doing?
You can, it just take some time alone, some quiet time, some meditation time. It doesn't take any money for that. Take a walk in the park outdoors. It's
Mm,
beautiful. We're at this time of year where it's beautiful. I'm in Virginia, so it's beautiful here. It's not too
mhm.
hot yet. And just walk and think and, take some time for yourself. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money. You don't. Read a book. There are lots of motivational books. There are lots of books that have out there that have been written by caregivers. So whatever you're going through, get your
Right.
support through that avenue.
Okay. Marissa's out there and she says, "You are dropping gems, Dr. Boone-Thornton. Thank you so much for sharing." And Dennis, God goodness, Yarmy, come from Liberia, is watching us. Yes, thank you so much. We love you all for being there and watching us. We love it here on the Empowering You show. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can contact me at support@barbarahsmith.com. Now, no, I want to get into some more meat here because you are, like Marissa said, dropping some serious gems. Can you tell me about CMV communicators? What is that?
Absolutely. I'm always just poised to talk about my family. And CMV communicators, we are speakers. Everyone in my family is. To
Wow.
to start up, my husband has been in Toastmasters years. He's won international awards and everything. My son, and this is the thing about parenting, you never know who's watching you. But clearly my son was watching
Mhm.
because he wrote his first book at 13. He was a
Wow.
speaker. He was on, Steve Harvey's Dreamers Academy. He's done all of these things, and so my twin daughters, in their own rights, they, one is in STEM. She's an engineer, and so she talks about STEM. The other one talks about education. So we all do a family component, and the family is under attack right now. We just have a lot, families are breaking up. Families are not able to incorporate other blended members, all of that. So we do a lot of speaking about family and parenting. And
Mhm.
so that is our website. And you can go through there. You can learn more about each one of us.
Mhm.
And we can speak as a group or we can speak individually. But we are being instruments that are used by God just to tell generations
Mhm.
how it is and the importance of family.
So if you weren't sure about your Black girl magic, based on the kids that you have raised and all the phenomenal things they've done, you have that. Barbara is still here watching with us, but she is having some internet issues. But no need to worry. We are still going on with the conversation. So, as far as mental health goes, is this something that you realized that there was a need for at a younger age, or did this develop where you saw that what was happening around you needed to be dealt with? Like for many Black people, I'm going to go ahead and say that there's a stigma around mental health. Either you're thought of as way on the other side of the spectrum, but outside of that, it's like, well, pray about it, go to
Mhm,
church about it. And
mhm.
it's starting to become more of a conversation now, and people are starting to get help and really get some healing. But there's still a slight stigma around it, like as if you're crazy, knowing full well that we have been traumatized for at this point centuries. Let's be
Yes,
honest.
absolutely. And this is something that, and I can understand what you're saying, even in my own family, we
Mhm.
had some family members that they were like, leave her alone. And I'm like, leave her alone. What's the matter? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And it was one of those things you just did not talk about. As I entered the field of mental health, my specialty is with children. Well, children have families. And so I did a lot of
Mhm.
community based work where I was going into homes with families, and I just started to see just this disconnect and just how people were not, I mean, one, there was the stigma, nothing's really wrong with him. He's just bad.
Right.
No, it's a
He's a
little
beacon.
more than that.
Mhm.
Um, and there's all sorts of things, even as far as, and I've also worked in the school system with learning disorders. Well, it's nothing wrong. We're not a bad parent because our child has a learning disorder or a mental illness. And we need to get them the help that they need. It's that covering up, that masking of situations that make things worse than they actually are. And then from just a cultural standpoint, Black people have never really been comfortable with doctors per se. You know, ever since that like Tuskegee experiment and other experiments, it's just been that disconnect there. I worked with the Peninsula Medical Reserve and helped in COVID when they first started doing the vaccinations. And I had a woman come up to me and said, is it true that they are giving Black people one vaccination and white people another? And I looked at her and I'm like, you actually think I would sit here and let that happen and not say anything? But people still believe. They still have that mistrust. So that's another reason why we do not seek mental health professionals or assistance.
Right. And we grow up hearing what goes on in this house, you can finish it, stays in this house, right?
Stays in this house, and don't you go out there telling your business.
Exactly. So that's like, how do you heal? And it could be something so small. It could be something like you were at school, you tripped and fell and all the kids laughed at you. You don't know how it affects other people. Absolutely. And, you know, trying to physically, I don't even want to say, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. When they get a whooping of some sort, I'm for one, I want to say I'm totally against that anyway. But that's the go-to for a lot of households, that, you know, that's all you need. They just need a good beating, like,
because that's the only intervention, you know. And so if you open up and go, you know, with a therapist or something, you would have other interventions. You would have verbal interventions. You would have more than just that good old whooping. And I'm a mandated reporter, so I don't whoop. But you know, if that's the only tool you have in your toolbox to manage behaviors, that's what you use.
So what happens when you don't realize that your child has a mental health issue and it's not just typical boys being boys type of behavior? Like, what happens?
Yeah, that's really difficult. And what happens is this child comes into the school system, and we are able, in most school systems, ones that I work in, Title I schools, they have like a therapeutic day treatment program. So the principal or the teacher would make a referral for me to come in and observe that child. And then I would contact the parent from there, and we would talk about further testing and interventions and treatments and enrollments in our program.
When you do that, do you also take the time with the parent, because maybe they're in some sort of denial or think?
Absolutely. And see, that's where the home services come in, because usually it's not just the child. You have to prepare the parent as well, and the parent has to be open to this. And so they may even need some parenting once they learn these interventions of how to use them instead of the good old whooping.
Right.
So, you know, it's a holistic process. Now that they have integrated healthcare system models, they pull everybody into treatment or to looking at an individual case or child or person so that they can be treated holistically.
All right. Well, I wanted to definitely talk about some more tools to manage behaviors. We're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to bring back the lovely Dr. Michelle Boone-Thornton to talk more about mental health. How do we manage? How do we identify it? And what can we do to move forward and to really start healing? I am so excited.
I am a child of the Most High God. He has gifted me in ways that I could not even imagine and didn't know.
There was a time when I didn't know who I was. I listened to other people tell me who I should be, what I should do. I listened to people telling me that I should be a boutique owner, that I should be a construction manager, that I should be a laborer. Have you ever felt like you should do something else, be something else, go somewhere else, be wherever you wanted to be, and you felt like you were in a box? Anybody in the room? And you couldn't get out? Anybody in the room? And you kept trying to go and you couldn't get out? Anybody in the room? But let me tell you, you need to rock the box. Rock the box.
I am engaging, inspiring, and empowering. I would give you everything I know. Just by touching you, if I could, by osmosis, give you every single thing I've learned, I've gone through, I know I would. We know that's not possible, but as it is possible, I love to share information with people.
Some of you out there, people have told you that you can't be, you can't have, you can't do. But I will tell you, like Kingston said, you can, you must, and you will. If it's to be, it's going to be me. You got to say it. If it's to be, it's going to be. If it's to be, it's going to be. If it's to be, it's going to be.
Barbara is because she believed what her mama said about her and not what other people told her.
Every day you wake up, when you're in a situation, it's your choice whether it's an advantage or the disadvantage.
She gained her confidence and her life, and now she is a testimony.
If I can help you elevate yourself, then I feel like I'm elevating my own self as well. What you know and I know together can change the world.
I love that sizzle reel. It just makes me want to dance every time. Now, before I get into this workbook that is coming out and everything that you have coming up, really quick, tell us, is there something that we can use? Is there questions or some kind of observation to figure out what's going on with our child early on? And how early on can we identify issues?
Okay, well, really early on now. There's a lot of interventions out there that can be used. One of the things, if you have any suspicion that, cognitively, emotionally, behaviorally, there may be a problem, then you can always go see a therapist. And most agencies have like a sliding scale fee, if you have Medicaid or something like that, and you can actually get assessment. Now, if your child is in school, you can request an IEP, which is an individual educational plan. And through the IEP, they will have a social worker, a psychologist, a teacher, people like myself go in and evaluate the child as well. And so from that, you will gain some information from that, maybe a diagnosis or, something like that. But I really suggest, good old fashioned prayer never ever hurts. Okay. And that was what, Big Mama and them used to use all the time before the psychiatrists and all them came on the scene. But, and just, getting some knowledge and education for yourself. If you think this is the situation with your child, there's a lot of information on the internet. You have to be really careful. There are a lot of books and things out here that you can read and just educate yourself on some things. Because first and foremost, this is your child and you should know him or her better than any professional out there. Okay. And so one of the things you want to maybe start is just learning more about your child, likes, dislikes. The best way to communicate with them, because we all know that we have ways that we learn. I'm more of a visual person. Some people are auditory. Just figure out who your child is and how he learns or she learns. And you can take all of that information to a doctor or, the school or whomever is doing diagnostic tests,
Mhm.
and share that with them. And then any accommodations that they come up with, you make sure that you are part of that. You don't want anybody pouring into your child and you're not part of that, or you're
Right.
not aware of that, or participating in it in some kind of way.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. So, what do you have coming up next month? Tell us where we can get said thing next month, please.
I have a couple of things coming up next month, but one of the things, my book will be published, my workbook will be published next month. And
Mhm.
we really pushed hard to get the workbook out first. Okay. Because, like you say, you feel the weight of the world, there's a lot of stress, you're stressed, there's a lot of emotional stuff going on. So, this is one way to start the process, whether you've been to a presentation or anything like that,
Mhm.
or you've been to a workshop. This is a way for you to start the process. Some people don't want to be around other people when they're working on sensitive issues. They
Right.
want to do it behind closed doors in the privacy of their own home. And this allows you to do that. But it also allows you to reach out, because we have resources in the back to individuals if you need more support.
So, where will this be available?
Our target date is May 15th.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, that's our target date.
Wait.
And
Okay.
so, we're working on it. You will be able to go to my website, and it'll be actually on both websites, Dr. Michelle Boone-Thornton and CMV Communicators. You'll
Mhm.
be able to get it there. Everywhere that I present, I will be lugging those books behind me. Uh, and you can get them there. But, I really suggest that we start somewhere, and this
Right.
workbook is the
Mhm.
start.
Right. Now, speaking of lugging this books wherever you go, I'm understanding that in July you're going to go to Nairobi. Can you talk to me about that and where
Yes,
you met
yes,
Dr. West?
yes, yes. I am so excited about Nairobi. Let me tell you guys, I wanted to do this last year. Last year,
Mhm.
I saw Barbara H. Smith in Nairobi. She gave a Facebook Live of everything that was happening. And I said, you got to have a dream board. I
Right,
said,
right.
I put that on my dream board. I said, I want to be on that tour next year. And I am going to work to develop everything I can so that when that opportunity comes, that's one thing, we have to be ready for opportunity.
Mhm.
Okay. We can't find the opportunity and then get ready. We
Right.
have to be ready for the opportunity. So when the opportunity came around, I was like, here I am right here. And so I got the invitation from the actual invitation about it from Barbara H. Smith, that,
Mhm.
hey, here's the opportunity. And so I went online and I met Dr. West and Dr. Tracy Ward. And hey, the next thing I know, I'm on this trip. And so because of that, I have made sure that my book will be available electronically as well. So,
Okay,
you
excellent,
know,
excellent.
internationally, you can still get this workbook
Right, because we need healing all over the world, right?
all over the world, all over the world.
Right.
And really, we're all going through the same stressors.
Mhm.
So actually, this book will work here in Nairobi, in Bali, wherever you want it to work, it'll work.
Oh, Bali. Now I'm looking forward to going there. Now, Barbara loves Kenya so much. She's when you go, it'll be number 4 in a year. I mean, imagine. I'm telling you, I think I'm gonna have to start co-hosting the show with her in Nairobi. And now it's gonna be 8 o'clock at night for her. So that's better that we change the time, right? So I'm really excited about that. So you talk about your whole family being part of CMB Communicators. When did you all decide to come together to start that?
Well, early on, I always prayed and asked God to
Mhm.
show me my purpose. And when he did, I was like, well, God, I don't really know about anybody that does these different things. How am I going to find these people? And his response were, "You already have them.
Mm.
They are my circle of five. They are my prayer partners. We do everything together. It's just not like, yeah, that's my mama, that's my daughter. We travel together. We do a lot of things. And so we were like, well, we're all speaking on different platforms. And so let's just put it all under one. And so that's how we came up with CMV.
So what's the future look like for CMV?
Oh, the future's wide open. The future's wide open. When I retire, I want to be a CMV girl. Okay. I got that on my vision board too. So that we can just talk with people all over about family issues, about marriage, I've been married 34 years. I think I know a little bit of something, just a little bit. I'm a parent, so I'm a foster parent. So I have fostered, parented foster kids, and did respite and permanent placements, and my own kids. And so I figure I got a little bit of experience there too, and therapeutic foster parents. So most of the students, individuals that I had, children, they had other issues, other diagnoses. So I just want to take that expertise and lend that to people who need it.
Now, that takes a really special kind of person to take in foster children, particularly ones that you're saying that have identified issues. What does that look like when you make that decision? Like, how do you handle that? Because I know you can get a call at any time of the day or night, and what's the first thing you do? How do you comfort these children? They already went through whatever they went through to get into the system. And so they already have some trauma going on. How do you deal with that when you feel like there's nothing you can do,
Yeah. Well, I kind of had the skill and the expertise that I brought from mental health, because my specialty is children. And in a therapeutic day treatment environment, I worked with children who had been diagnosed, and some of them were already in the foster care system.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I realized, the students and the children, they have to have that support from home to be effective for real change. Because even though we may work with them at school, when they leave that school environment with all that support and they go back into the home, there was nothing there for them. So, I thought to myself, well, why don't we do foster care? Because then that way it'll be that holistic approach. And so even most of what we did was respite. So these children were already in foster homes, and we did the respite, like weekends, weekdays, whatever they needed, and provided that support. And what we would do, I would work with most of their in-home workers. So I knew what some of the skills and the interventions they had been using, and I would continue to use them in the home with the children. Just a reinforcement, because these things have to be reinforced. They just can't be in one environment at school, and then you come home and it's back to the whatever, and structure, discipline, and consistency is very important. So I felt like the kids were losing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so with us being therapeutic foster parents, we could continue any type of treatment or interventions that were being used at school. And that way they got them 24/7.
You see, when we think about, like, as an adult, you think, kids, you have it easy. Wait till you have to pay bills and things like that. Not really realizing that, kids can be downright mean to each other, particularly when they know that they have things going on. So we can kind of understand the whole be faithful, there's greater later, but kids don't. And like younger and younger and younger, the bullying starts. So they already have all that going on. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with your family is in a situation, now you go to school with these kids and they're putting you in a different situation and they just want to give up? How do you deal with that?
Right. And you have a lot of kids that really are at that point where I'm not sure, am I going to now become the bully?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been bullied so much. Let me just return this, or is this how we really treat each other? So one thing is communications, and you really have to communicate to children as well as adults that children and adults are broken. And so broken people hurt other people. even if they're children. And so you have to understand that a lot of times when people attack you, it's nothing that you did. It's nothing that you did. And sometimes it's not anything that you really can do to fix it. You just have to understand it and just come up a little higher. I would tell all my students, I would always do, we did this little activity where we would reframe. We would reframe and we would, because a lot of things come because of faulty thinking. And so we would communicate. Well, why would somebody do that? Did you give them any reason for that? Did you give them any reason for that? Oh, they said, I'm no good at such and such. Well, how well are they at such and such? You have to reframe some things so that children can see this person is just being mean. What happens is children start internalizing it.
Right.
Like, it's something that I did. Oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm just a bad person. No, you're not.
Right. Or I don't look a certain way. I don't have the clothes.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So social media plays into this a lot. And I'll tell parents a lot, your kids don't need to be on
No.
social media.
No.
There's bullying out. There's things that you cannot control. And as a parent, you should not have your child in an environment that you cannot control. When they're at home, you know what they're eating. When they're at school, you know what they're learning. When they're on the internet, they're on the internet.
Right. 40 years ago, we had to worry about the kids in the neighborhood. Now you got to worry about all
that.
over. And there's people who are out there.
Absolutely. You just had to be home before the street lights came on.
Right. Okay.
That was it. That's all you had to worry about. But now it's so much more. It's drive-by shootings. It's everything. And so life is really hard for children. It is. There's a lot of fear out here.
Yeah. It's like, how do you project? How do you teach them to be aware, to pay attention to their surroundings, but without projecting your fear onto them?
That's the difficulty. And see, as parents, we want a parent for success. Everybody wants their child to be successful. But then sometimes as Black parents, you got to go, oh, but I got to keep them safe. So I have to parent for survival.
Right.
I have to say, if you're pulled over, put your hands up, don't do you got another layer of parenting that you have to do. And so again, that all adds to the stress and the masking that we do every day.
And I guess that's where prayer comes in. Hello, Lucy out there says, great show. And Johnny Brooker also said that's so true. That control aspect is a difficult situation. I actually was just talking to someone yesterday, like, how do you handle this? How do you let go, but still teach them? I was talking to someone who has a 17-year-old Black son, right? And, even the conversation of what school to go to. If you go to this school, is there going to be too much of the same situation that you're living in? If you go to this school, are you going to be accepted by kids that don't look like you? Right. If it's hard, and people might make it seem like daycare was the biggest thing, and that's not even the half. I'll take daycares and diapers back any day over trying to get them prepared to live out there, outside this house.
Yeah, but as a parent, it is very important that we let go. We can't be helicopter parents. We've got to let go and let God handle it. I mean, there's got to be some faith in it. And kids have to struggle. If you give them everything, they don't know how to work for anything. So, and let them know that these streets are dangerous. I mean, if I tell you it's dangerous, don't go there, and I'm blocking you, the first opportunity you get to check it out for yourself, that's what you're going to do. But because I just told you and didn't prepare you, now there's a problem.
Right. And then you don't want them to be afraid.
Absolutely.
We can go. I can't wait to get this workbook because I need to go through this. And listen, I'm a workbook kind of girl. And I'm one of those that doesn't really like to write in the workbook initially, because I'm like, what if my thoughts change? I want to write it on paper.
Oh, that's a perfect thing. That's perfect. In this workbook, okay, we give you opportunity and always encourage you to come back and look at this 3 to 6 months later.
Yeah.
Because our environments change that we live in. Our situations change. And so your emotions are going to change. And so I have this one activity that you do where you list, you kind of quantify your emotions.
Okay.
And you look at it in the beginning, and so maybe 20% is anger, 30% is whatever, and you're talking about what's going on at that time. And then you come back and you quantify it again. And so
Mhm.
now you are learning you, okay?
Right.
What situations do and how they make you feel, and you can change that. But you can't change that if you don't see that.
Right.
And so we give you a glimpse, 3 months, 6 months. We ask you to come back and look at your entries and change them if necessary.
Now, do I have the option of connecting with Dr. Michelle Boone-Thornton just by hitting connecting with your website? Can I talk to you that way?
You can connect with me, contact me, and then hey, we can connect. And I'm always available. You know, I teach at a university. I'm available to all of my students. Anytime you email me, I will hit you right back.
Well, that part is true for all you out there on this. So, what are you allowed to say? Let us know what university you're working at.
I teach at St. Leo University.
Okay.
And my program is 100% online. We had centers, but after COVID, the centers in Virginia closed. We still have centers in Georgia and South Carolina and Florida, but the Virginia centers closed. So we are 100% online.
Wow. And you think you'll stay that way at this point?
Yes, yes. My program at this point is probably we are in still some centers, but in the South. But up north, all of the centers have closed. So we have faculty that work in the centers down there for our program, and I basically teach 100% online. Mhm.
No, prior to COVID, were you traveling to the different centers and teaching there as well?
I taught primarily at the Chesapeake Center. And
Okay.
I have to tell you, I am an in-person kind of girl. I love teaching in person because learning is a reciprocal process
Mhm.
where I was teaching these adults. Some of them were in the military, you know, they had all kind of great background and experiences. And one of the things I do as a professor is I want to know about you. I want you to interject some of your experiences and learn events into the coursework. So we're learning from each other the whole time. I still get an opportunity to do that somewhat online, but not like in person.
Not like in person. And I
Yes.
mean, it's such a thing where you're talking about things that are painful and you almost want to just give them a hug. So I can understand that you want to be in person. Are you affiliated with any organizations that we should know about?
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't have my royal blue and white on, but I
Okay.
am affiliated with Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and the local chapter is Alpha Beta Zeta chapter. I
Mhm.
am also on the board for the Natasha House, which is a transient program for homeless women that serves the Virginia Peninsula. I also am on the board for the Virginia Alcohol Commission and work primarily with the Peninsula program. So, yes.
So it is very clear that the gift that you were given, you are sharing that with the world. We thank you so much for doing such a thing. Many people take their talents and skills with them to the grave. Let's just be honest. And you are such a light for people to help them realize that there's healing that needs to be done and this healing can be done. I can be different. My grandmother used to always say, as long as you have breath in your body, people can always change. And a lot of times we want to write people off, and that's just the end of it. But people like you, using your magic, are out here teaching people that you can heal, giving them the tools to heal, and just really being an all around excellent and beautiful example. So we thank you so much for that. Just the to talk about the Natasha House, that is one of the organizations that's really near and dear to the BHS organization. In fact, the retreat that we're having this October, Sisters Empower, Sisters to Advance, a portion of the proceeds are being donated to the Natasha House because that is such a dear and so needed necessity for that community and really worldwide. Women need to have a safe place to transition and learn the tools to move forward. Johnny Booker out there says, thank you, Dr. Thornton from the Mount Zion Baptist Church in Dover, New Jersey. Thank you so much for watching. And Barbara Holmes Smith out there says, you are indeed a light. Yeah, so we thank you so much. I cannot wait for the workbook. Tell us again what the name of it is and what website we should go on to purchase it.
You can go on my website, drmichelleBoone-Thornton.com. The name of the book is Transforming Realities by Unmasking.
I love it. I love that title because it means two different things.
Yes.
Actually, a little bit more than that, right? But two different things. I find myself even outside sometimes like, why do you have a mask on? People can still see you. I almost feel like with a mask and sunglasses, I'm totally an imposter. No one will recognize me with this mask on. But I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me some of the tools. And I'm really looking forward to getting your workbook next month. Not even next month, really. I mean, it is, but it's not even 2 weeks, really. So I want to thank you so much. I also want to thank our sponsors for the Sisters Empower Sisters Retreat. We have All About Events, Empowerment Duo, Best Bald Shave, Labs to Go, Spill It, Dr. Calvin White, the Charles Atwater Group, Soulful Journey, Tasty Chef, and Women Who Wow. If you're interested in being a sponsor for the Sisters Empower Sisters to Advance Retreat and or the Empowering You Show, contact me at support@barbarahsmith.com. We would love to have you join us. Listen, Mother's Day is coming up. If you don't want to be one of the, at this point now, 18 influential women at this retreat, you can gift it to that special someone. You hear that? Mr. Dr. Thornton there. If you want to give her a nice special gift for Mother's Day or those beautiful twin girls of yours, we'll make sure that you're in the house October 9th through 12th. That event is going to be the empowerment event of the year where we're going to excite, motivate, and move you into action. We've lined up some really amazing ways to teach you how to treat you. So how we talked about in the beginning of the show about some self-care, really giving back to yourself. Yeah, this is it. This is how we refuel and move forward so that we can pour. We can't pour from an empty cup. And a lot of times we don't even know that we're hurting because we've, just toughened it up. Your kids, it's like when your child falls, you're like, get up, you're all right. No, sometimes we need somebody to talk to. We need to talk to Dr. Michelle Boone-Thornton. Help me out here. How do I get this healing? Marissa says, great job, Mom. You inspire Black women everywhere. She does. She absolutely does. So everyone's watching it. I am so happy. I need you back too. I need you back after you come back from Kenya. So I wanted to hear about the experience that you experienced there. I've gotten Barbara's side of the story. I want to hear your side of the story. I cannot wait to see that sizzle reel that I know you're going to have so that I can dance along to yours as well. So again, thank you so much for having us. You can go on to barbarahsmith.com for more information about upcoming things. Like and subscribe us here at bit.ly/BHS lowercase YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you all have an intentional day. And do you know what time it is? It's time for you to step into your greatness because the world is waiting for you. Thank you so much.
Engage, inspire, empower. That's what I help you do as a celebrity, speaker, trainer, and coach. Hi, I'm Barbara H. Smith, known as the Masterful Presenter. I am the one that can help you dig deep inside your passions and deep inside your life to get you to the place you always dreamed.
I had the pleasure of hearing Miss Barbara Holmes Smith speak today, and just from her speaking to me today, I have realized that I need to have personalize my alter ego and be able to put myself out there a lot more.
I help through speaking techniques, teaching you how to use your words and your body language to inspire people to come up higher.
Today's presentation with Ms. Barbara was just outstanding. She has really helped me with her personality, with her being so genuine and passionate about what she believes in and helping to coach, train. Her sense of humor, her energy is just incredible.
How do I do that? By coaching and speaking and training. I help you with whatever it is that you want to do next. What is your next? Are you ready to take your life, your career to the next level? I can get you there. Contact me at www.barbarahsmith.com.